Alrighty, so ladies, can we just stop shopping? Close your devices, please. Thanks. Hey? Oh, it's right, I don't need that. That's fine. Alright, so I want to go through and I want to start back at basics, okay? So I'm going to refer to you. Now, I want you guys to be interactive, okay? I want you to call out the answers that you know if you know them, okay? Just, if it's wrong, it doesn't matter, okay? This is all about us learning. I want to embed everything that we learned in the last 6 months and put it to the forefront of your brain, okay? So we're going to just use all our information. Alright, so 3 sections of the skin: epidermis, dermis, hypodermis. Yep. Fabulous. All right, let's start with our epidermis. I just feel like I'm yelling, sorry. Okay, epidermis. So bottom layer of the epidermis is our what? The bottom stratum. The bottom layer of our epidermis. That's the top. Carly, Lance, Graham say basal. The basale, yeah? Okay. The base level, the basale. Stratum, so basale. What does stratum mean?
Layers.
Layers. So every layer is called stratum something, okay? Base layer, what has it got inside it?
Collagen.
Water.
Okay? Melanocytes sit in between it, yes, so you are correct, they are at that layer, okay? The stratum basale is half mum and half dad for all good. Cells? DNA? Yeah? So your division, your cell DNA, your division is sitting in here, okay? So we have a nucleus in the middle. Inside that nucleus is half mum, half dad, right? So I'll draw it bigger. And you know I use that as a generalized term because obviously we know that not everything is half mum, half dad, okay? So, all right, so your DNA. Do we need to protect your DNA? Yes. So what is on the outside of that cell? A cell starts with M. Membrane. Remember? The cell coating the membrane, yeah? This is why we're doing it. It's fine, okay? So we have a cell membrane. Okay, if we go back to our glass of water analogy, what is our cell membrane made up of? I have water in here. And we have oil. Perfect. Okay. What is the purpose of the oil? Keep the water in to protect it. Okay. Inside and floating around all my cells' bodies. Ladies, can we please stop talking? And floating around the cells' bodies is water. Okay. Known as cytosol. Okay. It is there to keep all those little bodies from staying in place so they don't all go rogue and they're not like sort of like jumping around and flopping everywhere inside the cell. Yeah. Okay, inside that cell, we have our DNA. Okay, that tells us our genetics, who we are, what we've got, whether you've got black hair, brown hair, blonde hair, blue eyes, all those sort of fun things, yeah? Then inside those cells, you have all these organelles, okay? How does your food get processed? Where does your energy come from, okay? How does your body work? So things go in and out of the cell. So this cell membrane is a key function of our skin. Because this cell, the stratum basale, will go through cell differentiation, and once we go through our layers, will eventually be what we feel and see on the top. Yeah? So if this cell is damaged, yeah, then the top cells are going to be damaged. Does that make sense? Yeah? So when our client comes with a skin condition that we can physically or visibly see on the top of their skin, you need to also refer to what are they doing internally. Now, connected to the bottom of the stratum basale, okay, is we're going into the dermis. So I'm just going to skip forward. The dermis has 2 layers. Okay, it has a dermal papillary layer. Papillary meaning what? Blood? Blood? Yeah, so blood is then feeding these cells. So these cells are alive. They are dividing. Everything that we eat, everything that we drink, everything that we put inside our bodies, our external, our environment, everything we breathe in goes into our bloodstream. Okay? Cellular respiration. Anything in, everything out. Okay? We breathe in oxygen. Okay? Nice, clean, fresh air. We expel CO2 and waste. all the bad things that we may potentially be putting anywhere in or near our body is going to be feeding into our cells. So if your client or if you are having skin conditions, you need to be looking at what is your client putting in, okay? One of the best things that we can take on a daily basis that helps to build that cell membrane is our omega-3. Yeah, your omega-3. Because the more oil component that we put in, it helps to build that cell membrane and repair. So it is putting that nice little safety protective mechanism back at this layer. Yeah, so locking in all that goodness that you're going to work by putting it on topically. Okay, so stratum basale, bottom layer, stratum meaning layers, starts at the bottom and it goes through cell division. So these cells, because they have blood, they're alive, they are constantly changing. Now, if you're a baby, your cell turnover will be between 7 and 14 days. Okay, as you get older, it doubles and it keeps doubling and it keeps doubling. Okay, so if you go baby is 7 to 14, okay, then you're going to say 15 to 30, might be say teenagers, maybe early 20s, okay, so we'll just say teens, okay, then you go 31 to say 45, that might be say late 20s, okay, there is an exact number, I'm just doing a roundabout, so let's just say late 20s. Okay, then let's go 46. Let's go to 60. Okay, so I'm going to say my early 30s or say 30s. Okay, 61 to 75, 40s, and so on. Now, if you're looking at Nan's skin, and if we go back to what we learned when we first did our skin bio, okay, the elastin in my skin, okay, that is going to be from how much my skin regenerates. Now, this is just on the stratum basale level, so this is not collagen and elastin, but it's all important. A fine, thin, delicate skin is going to be because my client's cells are turning over at a slower rate. Make sense? Yes? Okay. So when you're looking at fine, delicate, crepey skin, we need to know their age bracket. We don't ask the client their age. We don't need to know specifics, but the age bracket gives us an idea of, are they aging at the correct rate? Are they prematurely aged? Okay. Is their skin in great condition? Have they been looking after their skin? Okay. What is it internally and externally are they using that is allowing their skin to look fabulous or to possibly not look fabulous? Okay. Then, based on the internal environment, what are they doing? Are they a heavy smoker? Do they work in aircon? Do they work 80 hours a week and their stress levels are just through the roof? Do they have a stressful lifestyle? Do they have a kid that's unwell? What is it that could be potentially making all of this? Because if you've got a baby sitting at this one, okay, you always think babies have got beautiful skin, they're nice and soft, you pick up a little baby and you give them a little cuddle and like, oh, they smell lovely, unless they've done number 2, so they don't smell lovely, okay? But if I'm here and in my late 20s and my skin's looking a bit haggard because I smoke, I go out partying, I drink, I'm not just talking, you know, have a bit of fun, I'm talking as a continuous lifestyle choice, as a hard life, then I'm prematurely aging myself. If I'm a heavy sun lover, I'm aging myself, okay? If I'm a big meat eater, I'm aging myself. If I don't drink any water, I'm aging myself, okay? Inside these cells, they have water. Inside all of us, we are water. If we don't have enough water, we are not surviving. We are not working at the correct rate. We know that a lot of our, or all of our skin, our barrier when we get to the top is oil and water. If you are missing that water, then you are missing a vital essential nutrient into your body, which means that your body is going to then draw any water out of your skin, and the first place it's going to put it is in your brain. So if you're stressed and dehydrated, your body will actually grab all your water and it will put it directly to your brain because your brain is the part that needs to function the most. Make sense? Yeah? Okay. So when we get, and I just learned this recently, when we get dehydrated or when we get thirsty, we know this, I've known this for a long time, then we know that we're dehydrated. What we don't know is when we hit that 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you go, oh, I need a sugar hit, that's your body actually telling you you are severely dehydrated and you're actually putting your cells under distress. So you are actually killing off your healthy cells. So when we grab our soft drink, we're all guilty of it, trust me included, you grab your sweet treat, your body needs sleep, okay, or you feel like you need sleep. That is your body telling you your cells are actually in distress. Yeah? So now it's like everyone grab their water. Everyone sit there and scull some water. Okay, so moving on. So Shot-and-Base Sale everyone's got, yeah? So the one thing we're going to recommend to our client is that Omega. Okay, I've recently learned some new things about Omegas in terms of whether to do fish oils or natural version, but we'll have another conversation about that later. All right, so Shot-and-Base Sale. All right, what's our next layer? Spinosum, fabulous, thank you. Okay, spinosum, also known as our spiky layer. Okay, they all connect together. It is this cell that has then changed its shape. Okay, so it still has the oil and water, it still has the DNA, it still has the water hanging around, it still has all the little organelles inside. Okay, but what it's doing, it is changing. Okay, so it's going through cell differentiation. All right, so it is becoming a keratinocyte or a keratinocyte. Okay, it is changing. What it's doing in this layer is basically starting to change change into a different format and basically starting to shrink. So it's starting to push out some of the water, starting to push out any of the things that are sitting inside the cell so it can change. Okay, so the spinosum or the spiky layer. All right. Our next one is really important. So our stratum, close, granulosum, good. Also known as my coffee layer, my coffee granules, my granulosum. Same thing, I've got my nice big plump cell, okay, I've started to change, I'm a spiky cell because I'm in my spinosum, okay, and then I've now basically squished all what was inside here. Yeah, the nucleus. What surrounds the nucleus? Membrane. Yep, the water, the cytosol, the water. Okay, so all of the good stuff. So the oil and water that was sitting in this little bilayer in this little membrane is now squished. Okay, and it's now leaking outside of those cells. Okay, so I'm going to go and just do this in the right colors. Okay, my oil from here is now going up in between. Okay, and then my water, all right, is doing the same. Okay, so it's up in between each individual cell. Okay, so it's starting to make its way to the top, which is great. That's what we want it to do. All right, so this is the granulosum, also known as the granule layer. Okay, again, everything has stratum in front of it. Okay, so layers of. All right. So this is now our coffee layer. Okay, this is where it is really becoming a more of a corneocyte or a keratinocyte. Okay, so it's becoming corny, meaning hardened. Okay, which means that it's starting to lose all its nutrients. Yeah, the one layer that sits on our palms and our soles of our feet, lucidum. Yeah, all right. So let's draw the little lucidum in a different color. Okay, so only in the palms, only in the soles of the feet. It's the reason why we can all look at our hands and we're all pretty much the same color. Okay, it's that clear layer there for protection purposes. All right, so then what we have is our top layer, which we all see, corneum. Fabulous. All right, now our corneum is a brick-like formation of cells that have been squashed. Okay, and they are held together, okay, by little like glue, cells glue if you like. All right, now our skin naturally desquamates. Okay, so desquamate in Latin means to scale a fish. Okay, so if you think of a lovely fish, okay, flopping it around, it's got lovely scales, it will naturally slough off dead skin cells. Now, depending on, if you remember my timeline in terms of how long that process takes, Some people, depending on the health of their bottom cells, will have a good cell turnover and it will naturally exfoliate themselves. Okay. If it's slower because your internal environment is not very healthy, you'll end up with a thickened layer or a hyperkeratinized stratum corneum. So a thick, dull, lifeless, hyper, meaning too much, layers of dead skin. Now, if we have excess layers of dead skin sitting on the top, what are we going to see? What's our client's skin type? Okay, dry? Yep. Dehydrated, dull, thickened, just a bit grey, yeah, okay. So it doesn't have that glow because this oil and water that's sitting there as our skin's barrier is not able to come out of the skin. Yeah, so it's not giving a nice, beautiful coating that's making our skin look healthy and glowy. It now looks dull and lifeless, okay? What's the other thing that can affect that? So if we have a thickened, hyperkeratinized skin and I have oily acneic skin, what is going to happen to my skin? What are we going to see on the surface? Scarring after we have what? Breakouts, pustules, papules. Because if I have a thickened layer, if I just add an extra couple of layers, okay, so my poor oil and water's got no chance. Okay, thickened layer of dead skin, it's not going to look particularly fabulous. Okay, so with a thickened layer on a dry skin, it means no matter what I put on the surface of my skin, it's not going anywhere. You are trying to put like a square peg in a round hole. You are trying to put a nice moisturizer that would normally penetrate in through the interstitial spaces between the skin cells or the corneocytes, and it can't. So you're just putting cream on dead skin. You're not doing anything. You're not moisturizing anything. And lots of people have that problem. They keep packing on even body moisturizer. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. There's too much dead corneocytes on the top. Okay, so then that's obviously with a lipid dry skin, okay, or a dry skin, or a mature or dull or stressed out skin. With the oily acneic skin, we have our sebaceous glands. I'm just going to change this to a little bit of a sebaceous gland and a hair follicle. Okay, what we have is we have all this oil that then can't get out because the top of that pore is blocked. Yeah? So then on the surface, what we see is acne in some form. Grade 1, so congestion, so your comedones, grade 2, okay, maybe your milias, grade 3, your pustules, grade 4, you're building into your cystic acne, and it goes on. Okay, obviously, again, those descriptions are very brief. They're not them exactly. But obviously, a lot of people that have oily skin don't like to exfoliate because when they exfoliate, it brings out all the oil. But if you're not exfoliating, then all this is doing is building up, which means this little baby here is getting more oil and more oil and more oil, and to the point where it's eventually going to become a massive problem. Yeah? What happens if it can't come out the top? Go in. It goes in. Okay, ever heard that saying, better out than in? Yeah. Okay, you generally say it to your kids. You're like, can you just stop popping off, but it's like it's better out than in. What happens is it comes down. Okay, the pressure builds, and then this little baby here bursts. Okay, so now that germs, those infections, that pus is now in your bloodstream. So then that travels along to the next hair follicle and creates another acne. And another one, and another one, and another one. Yeah? It just keeps going. Yeah? Now, blood has hormones. What do teenagers have? Hormones. A massive abundance of them. Okay? And the one thing they generally don't eat is they eat a lot of sugar and they don't eat any good fats. But if you get the fats right, if you get them on some omegas and balance out their cells, because you can't really adjust the hormones, not really, not to the level that we'd like to, okay, then we need to look at other options. So we need to make sure that they're well hydrated, they've got heaps of water in here, and that they've got a nice healthy cell membrane so that it can turn over. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Because then what also happens too is if you get that lovely person that decides they're going to squeeze, okay, that bursts, okay, those germs, if they're not collected and if your extractions aren't done properly, then spread and make another one, and spread and make another one. So you have acne on the top, you also have acne on the bottom, okay? Now, our skin's really intelligent, all right? In and around all of this, we have these cool little things called Langerhans cells, okay? They're like little Pac-Man, all right? So when our skin has some sort of infections going on, okay, our skin is going to send out these Langerhans cells. They're white blood cells, okay? Also, there's another name called a macrophage, okay? So literally think like a Mac, okay, like a Pac-Man. I'm probably showing my age. You're probably looking at me going, what is a Pac-Man? Okay, but what they do is they hop in here and they scavenge around. Okay, I'll draw a little Pac-Man actually. Okay.
Is that like in the bloodstream?
They're your immune cells, so they're your white blood cells, so they're different, but they are still an immune cell. This is just a different version of it. Okay, so these little Pac-Man, they hang around here. So if you've got this and it's infected, okay, it's going to come along and it's basically going to eat any of your bacteria. If you've got an abundance, okay, your skin is working overtime. Okay, what's the one thing we notice if someone's got quite bad acne? Okay, so it's pustulated, it's obviously it's inflamed. Our body's first form of response to any infection is inflammation. The reason it does that is it increases all your blood flow. Okay, so it's trying to feed in here, it's trying to give you lots and lots and lots of blood, because more blood means more oxygen, more nutrients. And then it basically increases your lymphatic system, which works alongside your blood to then come and pick up all the germs and the bacteria, to take it back down to the blood, to then allow your body to get rid of the waste. Yeah? Does that make sense? So in terms of how your body works, lymphatics, okay? So your waste system, blood, oxygen and nutrients, cells, turnover, okay? So it has to be beauty from the inside to the out. Yeah? Any questions? No? Okay. So, one more thing in the epidermis. Okay? What's our Fitzpatrick? Skin? Your color? Yeah? Who determines that? Melanocytes? But before melanocytes? Genes. Your genetics. Yeah? Okay? So your genetics, so coming back down here, I'll just get rid of some of these a little bit. Okay, I'll just get rid of some of this. All right, so in your genetics, all right, so we come back down to our stratum basale, and inside each nucleus has what you were made up of. Okay, your genes, okay. One cell, we all started off as one cell. Okay, somewhere, sometime, however old you are, plus 9 months, 40 weeks, whatever it was, however you were conceived, okay? So we always start off as one cell, okay? One cell is called a mother cell, okay? Like you, if you're a mother, okay, or if you've got a mother, okay, that one then divides, so it splits in half and it duplicates and it makes a daughter cell and another daughter cell, and basically that is cell division. That is mitosis, okay, in a very simple form, okay, without going into all the different phases, all right? So with these cells, they divide, which is fabulous. We know that they have their membrane, so we know that we obviously need to keep them nice and healthy. Ladies, please. And then what we have in here is our melanocytes, okay? So your melanocytes are a melanin cell, okay? So for every cell, so for every 10 of my stratum basale, there is one melanocyte. So you're probably thinking, but I don't have dots. Okay, I'm not going to count 10 cells and then go, oh, I've got a melanocyte. Okay, so how does it work? In here, you have a melanocyte, and it looks a little bit like an octopus. Okay, now, how much melanosomes, Okay, so there's only 1 in 10. We all have the same ratio. Okay, no one changes. We all have the same. Okay, we're all born with the same, I should say. Okay, how many melanosomes are in your melanocytes? So sites meaning cells. Okay, melanocyte, a melanoscell will depend on your DNA. Okay, I'm a FITS4. I've got this much. Okay, someone who's a FITS1 might have this much. Okay, now these little babies, these little arms on your melanocytes, they stretch out and they can connect. Okay, so they can branch out. These are called a dendrite. Okay, like a little spindly finger. Okay, so if I go to Ella, hi Ella, I'm a melanocyte, and you can connect. All right, so I'm connecting with my next melanocyte. When we go in the sun, okay, again, your body is so smart, it knows it needs to protect you. Okay, hence the reason you get a tan. So let me get rid of my hyperkeratinized skin and I'll come back and do.
Hello. Sorry.
Hi. It's all right. So when we go into the sun, we have UV radiation. Okay, so UVR. You have UVA, which is your aging, and UVB, which is your burning, and UVC, which is your cancer forming. The difference is how far they penetrate into our layers, so our epidermis, our dermis, and our hypodermis, that causes damage within our cells. Okay, A meaning aging, which means it comes down to when we do our dermis because it's our collagen and our elastin. B is burning, so it's anything to do with up to here to basically your stratum basale. Okay, so your UV, we'll just do UVB in this one. Your UVB will come all the way down and it'll hit my stratum basale. Now, because these are alive, your skin or your body knows it needs to protect these babies, because if we damage these and this one dies, it dies. Okay, so you need to keep those cells nice and healthy. Yeah. So what happens is your melanocytes, and I want you to think about putting up an umbrella. Okay, all of a sudden you're going to open up your umbrella, okay, and all the little prongs that come off your umbrella, and now putting a nice little coating over the top of your stratum basale. They're like, I got you, you're fine, okay, big mama bear arms, okay, don't hurt my cells, we're nice and safe, yeah? So these little cells, these little dendrites, okay, they fill up with melanosomes and they connect. Imagine there's 1 in 10 cells, okay, and they produce melanin. What do we see on the surface of our skin? What happens when you go in the sun? You get a tan, you get red, you get burning, yeah? Okay, your body is doing the tan as a protective mechanism, okay? But when we tan, what's the other thing we feel? Feels tight, yeah?
Right.
Because there's no moisture, okay? There's no water, they're protecting. So no water is able to then travel up, which means that if you think of like what your skin looks like after you've been at the beach, you look glowy because you're brown, but you're also dry and tight because the water that's sitting in here can no longer make its way up.
I
For a
thought it
port.
was because you were sat like next to the sea and the sand. Like,
Well,
the
it probably
salt.
all it's all dehydration, really. So you're slowing down that water permeability, allowing it to come back up to the top, yeah? So that's the water component. You have the red component, okay? Now, does my skin feel like it's being attacked when it goes in the sun?
Yes.
Yeah. What's our body's first defense? You've got inflammation, yeah? What's the other thing that happens if we've got inflammation? What color does it generally turn? Red. Okay, so there's a name for that.
Oh.
There's a thing called erythema, yeah, which you probably remember, okay? And when we're talking about sun, there's minimal erythema dose. So based on my Fitzpatrick, how long can I stay in the sun without any form of ultraviolet protection, so any form of sunscreen, without seeing or without activating my MED, my minimal erythema dose, okay? So minimal erythema dose, so my MED, okay? Now, if I'm a FITS1, and this is a broad generalization, okay, so a FITS1, and it's all in Roman numerals if you remember. So FITS1, okay, you will generally last 10 minutes with ultraviolet exposure with no sunscreen before your body starts to activate all of this process. Redness, inflammation, melanocytes spreading out, water holding on to it. So 10 minutes. So who are my FITS1s? Anyone? No?
I don't know if I'm one or two.
Yeah, we can change depending on whether you look like you're tan some days or not. You're yeah.
Well, I was about to ask, you know when people say, like, if you go out and you build up your tolerance to the sun, is that true?
No.
Okay.
No,
Well, I
all you're
like-
doing is building up the melanosomes inside each melanocyte.
So no matter how much I go out in the sun, I'm still going to burn.
To your Fitzpatrick level. Yeah. Okay, so ME2. What do we think?
15.
20. We double it. Okay, 3. 30 minutes. 4. Okay, so 40 minutes. Now, people that come to you, and I've had it for years, okay? I don't burn. It's a load of hogwash. You may not see, but it doesn't mean that you're not activating erythema, swelling, or inflammation, melanocyte changes within your skin. So people that say they don't burn, you may not see the colour. Obviously a darker fits, you're not going to see it. It doesn't mean they're not getting the same response. Okay? So one more thing when I talk about this. Melanocyte, melanosomes, melanoma. A melanoma is a cancerous or a melanocyte that has turned cancerous. Melanoma. Okay? So every time you go in the sun and you activate minimal erythema dose, you activate the inflammation or the swelling, you're not wearing sun protection, okay? And you're not allowing your skin to get all that water and those nutrients from the oils, okay? You are also activating a melanocyte. If a melanocyte is active, it has the chance of becoming a melanoma. Does that make sense? Yes. The other thing is basal cell carcinoma, a BCC, also a cancerous cell. So again, if it gets past the melanocyte and the UV radiation gets to those basal cells, okay, then you have a chance of creating a BCC. Okay, now my mother cell becomes a daughter cell. My daughter cell becomes another daughter cell. So if I have a basal cell that is turned cancerous, it means it goes through a stage of melanogenesis. I have a chance of making another cancerous cell and another cancerous cell. Now, what's this all connected to? Down here again in the papillary layer of my blood. Where does blood go?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. So you have the chance of that little cell jumping on that little wagon and going through the blood train and going somewhere else within your body. The other thing that comes with our blood is our lymphatic system, your waste system. So if it doesn't hop in your blood, it could hop in your lymphatic system. Lymphoma, okay, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, okay, goes into your blood cells, okay, goes into your waste systems.
Is that all
Yeah.
the cancer starts?
They're all generally cells in some part of the body that have turned into a cancer in some way. And it is called to metastasize. So one cell will metastasize, so basically recreate another version of the same cell. Yeah? So the other thing, sorry, I know it's looking very overwhelming, okay, is if you go back to keeping these cells nice and healthy at the stratum basale level, one, you're protecting that cell membrane, or you're protecting that cell's DNA in here in the center, okay, but then you're also keeping it nice and healthy. If this cell is healthy, both internally and externally, then it is going to create another healthy cell. So the healthier your internal environment, one cell will create another healthy cell. If you're unhealthy, same thing like the cancer, it will create another unhealthy cell. Does that make sense? So it basically, it is a progressive chain. Yeah. Now back to our glass of water analogy. If this cell isn't healthy, what's going to happen up here? You're lacking what? It's the oil in the water, but what do we call it as therapists?
Collagen.
No, the top. The glass of water analogy.
Water.
Oil and water, but what's it called? Barrier. Thank you.
Okay.
You are missing your barrier. So if your cells are unhealthy here, they are going to duplicate, or they're going to be unhealthy on the surface. So beauty is not just what we put on the top. You have to have a basic fundamentals. I'm not saying you are now a nutritionist or a naturopath and you need to know everything.
That's right.
Okay, but if clients want to actually make a change, they need to have a bit of an understanding, and the only way they're going to understand it is if you understand it.
That's why it makes sense when you guys asking about the medical history of the person.
100%, yeah. More medications, more prescriptions, okay, more external environment damage. And again, we're not going to be able to change everything, okay, but it is all about what are we going to do and how can you give your knowledge to your client to allow them to achieve the best results, okay. So then you've got your skin's barrier, which obviously is that nice oil and water component, which is then going to put a nice little protective mechanism on the top, okay? So that skin's barrier. Yeah?
My
Okay.
just said, you've been sitting for an hour, get up.